Let's talk a little bit about Johannes Kepler and Tycho Brahe. This is Tycho Brahe right here. Notice that Tycho Brahe really is old enough to be Johannes Kepler's dad. Okay, kind of a fatherly figure here. Tycho Brahe is also a very interesting and colorful character. So if you need to do a biography or something like that of some scientist, look up Brahe or Newton for that matter. Not terribly normal anyway. Tycho Brahe was very wealthy, and he could spend his time actually observing the positions of planets in the night sky. And I never understood how this worked when I was a student, so let me just explain a little bit of it here, right? In the night sky, there are certain distance stars, and these stars their position is essentially fixed with respect to us. Okay, they're so far away that any motion that they have is just negligible as far as in the sky. So they tend to stay put. And then there are the planets, right, which are the wanderers, right? And so, one night Mars might be here, the next night Mars might be here, the next night Mars might be here, and then, Mars is going this way or something like that, right? Okay. The motion, the position of these, the planets with respect to the stars, that's what Brahe was observing. He had tons of data, not only where the stars were, which of course the Greek knew well before this, right? But where the planets were with respect to the stars every night. Because the planet's motion was very, very enigmatic and puzzling to these people, because like for example, Mars is an outside planet, right? So sometimes Mars is tooling along in the direction of all the other planets, but then as we pass Mars, here's our orbit and here's Mars's orbit, right? And we're going faster and we've got a shorter distance to go. So at some point we actually go blazing past Mars, and Mars appears to move backwards. In parallax or whatever against the long distance stars. And so this was a very complicated thing, right? And at the time they were trying to make sense of this, right? And so Tycho Brahe basically had a ton of data. Johannes Kepler was a talented mathematician and basically went up to Tycho and said, oh, the other thing you got to know about Tycho is that he's got a fake nose made out of gold. Okay, why it's gold, you could look that up. It's the same reason earrings have to be gold and they can't be steel. Why he has a fake nose is especially intriguing. Turns out a friend of his cut his nose off. And he was doing him a favor, so you have to look that up. Okay, you got to look up that story. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, Kepler came along and said to Brahe, he said, look, if you give me all your data, I will become rich and wealthy. And no, he didn't become either one, but yeah, I'll become known to physicists, and your name will be a comical side note. Okay, and Brahe said, of course, nothing doing. You can work for me, and I'll give you a little bit of data, right? Well, eventually Tycho Brahe dies, and Johannes Kepler gets all of Tycho Brahe's data, and I think in a very short period of time, actually came up with 3 laws of planetary motion. So that's what I'm going to talk about in these next videos. And he came up with these laws based on the data largely that Tycho Brahe had collected.